Recently, Welcome to Yorkshire have announced the competition for land art in the area. So we've met up with Tim.
Hello.
Hi Tim, who's going to talk to us a little bit more about land art and art in general, and give us some tips and advices on the competition and probably how to get your land art, hopefully in the helicopter's view, and get it on telly. Exactly. So you're experiencing this before. So what's your previous experience, and how do people go about it?
I guess you have to have that vision that you want to work on that scale and that it's achievable and doable. You have to believe in yourself and your methods. You do need a little experience. That's quite important. There are lots of tricks of the trade that an artist that works at that scale for helicopter cameras. My last two pieces for the Tour de Yorkshire 2017 at Queensbury and at Baildon, that were town badge logos, if you like. They were 70, 80 metres long. They were 50, 60 metres high. When you're stood in a field that size and you think, well, where do I put my first mark?
Absolutely, how do you do that?
It's quite daunting. So there is an element of, I've been happy and lucky enough to work with some brilliant, amazing, genius other land artists in my time, and you learn a little from them that makes it less daunting from you. I couldn't do it without the team that work with me and around me in all these projects. Hello, Nicola, Dave, Luke. They're really great guys, and they're really talented, and they help me, down to the geometry and the maths.
Is there maths involved?
Oh heck yeah! You're working up a drawing. Literally, you can draw whatever you like in the field. Obviously, one of my specialisms is that I work with people to generate artwork, which makes me slightly distinct and different from the other land artists. So school children will make the artwork with me. That means that I'm going to go for much more simple, bold, straightforward methods because of the added extra complication of trying to get 30 to 300 kids' artwork involved in what you're doing. And all of the extra work that goes into going into school before, prior to, and running sessions with the children to make that happen. In the inaugural Tour de Yorkshire, I worked with Bradford Council and put artwork onto tarmac for them in 3 locations in the district. And the ideas I played with then were not about one big thing at massive scale, but how much I could stretch something, because I was working with the tarmac of the road as my surface, as my canvas, if you like. And because I am a cyclist and I understand a bit about pro bike racing and how the helicopter camera works, having spent hours of my life enjoying the rolling countryside in pro bike races all over the world, Europe mainly, I understand that there's this time that there's the big shot where you see the farmer's field and there's an amazing bike moving with school children moving around that everyone loves, it's brilliant, or the church tower draped in flags, but there's this other shot that is almost close up when you're in the peloton at key certain attack points in the race. And because I knew the route and I knew these places, I got a hand in putting strategic artwork in places in 2 locations of those 3 commissions. I got a chance to choose where they went, and happily for me, we got shots in that race of Bradley Wiggins riding over the sheep at Silsden, and then the race was won, that day's stage was won on an attack at Goose Eye, which happened on top of the flock of geese that I painted onto. So it's a really wonderful feeling that you're seeing it tweeted around the world, you're seeing it go to 30, 40,000 people, not from your own tweet, but an image that you've had something to do with making, or when you see it on a highlights programme at the end, and they're discussing there's the race one.
I did that!
Yeah, well, that was us. I remember having the road shut down by the council and spraying artwork on the road in the night. So there are rules and regulations to doing that though. The paint I had to use, although it was multicoloured and bright and vibrant and naive and simple, which did the very basic clear message, almost like marketing speak, you have to boil to stand a chance of the director wanting to carry on including your picture in the cut and not going to an ad break. I think you really need to have something that captures the imagination.
Yes.
And the French directors and networks that run the media output of our races in Yorkshire, they really like the child-centred element, they're handmade, they love humour, anything with humour or anything that's really an obvious visual metaphor or message. So putting geese on Goose Eye when the commentator's talking in French about Le Côte de Goose Eye, and there you go, and there's some geese flying up. It's just, I'm lucky enough to have had that resonance with those sort of things.
Because you've obviously got the experience, because having done these things before, because obviously there's no guarantee, is there, that you know, the helicopters, it's going to be on telly. There's no guarantee whatsoever. You don't quite know where those outbreaks are going to be.
And I can tell you from experience, whilst I've had the highs of seeing the images I talked to you about just then on TV, I've had the lows
of not seeing it.
Well, why didn't they put that one in? Why didn't that make it? That looked really effective. I thought that was as good as that other one.
Yeah.
But again, it's subjective. It's a personal choice, and it is down to, are you addressing the key things that they want? So read the brief for the competition for Welcome to Yorkshire.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Point number one.
Yeah.
And think about how do you want this to be done? Do you want an artist to create something that you've all got collectively as a community, or as a group of linked businesses in your mind's eye? You know, Visit Nidderdale or whatever it is that you want. Do you want a corporate thing like that? And I would suggest that in a place that's more remote, you have a likelihood of getting whatever you've created in land art at a huge scale on the TV cameras, because there will be relatively less land art around than when you get to the city fringes and the well-populated areas, in which there are big cities with that see the creative and artistic opportunity.
There's going to be a lot
huge
of
land
them,
art. There's a lot more competition close to the city. So if you're out in the Dales or in the South Pennines, it's a really, or your Richmondshire or wherever, it's a really good opportunity if you want to work at scale to get something on the TV. Definitely.
Well, I mean, certainly the route comes through a lot of the Dales. You know, a lot of that area is very remote, so the opportunities are certainly there. And
you've got farmers with vacant fields, and possibly a community with access. I mean, for example, the prize-winning artwork from last year, from 2017, was done with Haworth Primary School, up at Haworth, and was Bramwell Bronte on a bike. Yes, it was super. And it's gigantic. Andrew Wood again, at Fields Division, and they worked with artists and the community and the school. And if you look at that picture carefully, the two wheels on the bicycle are made by over 3,000 plant pots turned upside down. Now, it's that kind of thinking you've got to think, how could I draw this? How could it stay in the wind, the frost, the snow? How could it still be there when it's a torrential or horrible foggy day?
Absolutely.
How can the TV camera still see this? How can it remain? How can I enable school children to make this and it look any good when it's finished? So you've got to think about all this strategic things.
Well, I think a lot of people kind of probably initially think, oh yes, we'll have a feel, we'll do something amazing and put something humorous there, it'll get picked up, but there's obviously so much more to it, because you have all these factors to consider.
There is, but then by the same token, some of the funniest artwork and some of the most memorable of the Tour de Yorkshire specifically, for me, are... There's a classic image of a farmer truck with some hay bales, loosely baled and wrapped, not finished at all, and it just says "Tech Care" in TDY in proper dialect, and that makes it to all the ASO presentations, and not just Gary and Welcome to Yorkshire.
I think it's also
Christian
as well.
likes it as well.
But even if you don't get, you know, on the shot on the telly, you know, it's all the publicity that will surround it from social media in the local area that gets shared worldwide anyway. So yes, it's the best thing is to get it on the telly, but there's all the opportunities that come from that too.
It's a very fair point. I think some of my, if I measured it in Twitter hits or whatever, I don't really Instagram, but I've had other people report this back to me. Some of the things that we've done in advance of the bike race over the last 3 years have almost generated as much interest or shareability or impact
and engagement
and engagement as the stuff we've done to do with the race. Welcome to Yorkshire, welcome other business involvement, as opposed to the stamp your name on the back of my sheets.
I mean, you can't do that. I mean, there is just so you all know, there's a link on the Welcome to Yorkshire website there's a link that tells you the do's and don'ts of what you can and can't do. You know, for promoting, using branding, etc. So it's worth reading that.
and if you're in a community or a group that are dead set on using specifically Welcome to Yorkshire's branding, there is one type of logo and wording that you can use, which
Yorkshire
is
loves the tour,
which is like the New York Love Heart idea, but in, of course, yellow and blue for the Yorkshire colours.
It's like you say, it's not just about the telly, it's all the spin-off that comes up from it. It's the run-up to, because I mean, a lot of communities, you know, they can talk about this on Twitter, Facebook, and you know, get people following and watching the progress of how something's going on, and you know, it's all about building awareness and raising awareness of communities in the Dales, and all the businesses that are within that community. We are just obviously fixed on the Yorkshire Dales. That's our passion. We can't do the whole county, we've got the Yorkshire Dales, but we're lucky enough because the route obviously comes through so much of it this year. So if you want to have a chat with Tim about, you know, the options, the possibilities, I mean, if you've got any questions, you might be able to help them and give them some guidance. How do they get in contact with you?
I think that the best way would be a direct contact of telephoning me.
The old-fashioned thing called telephone.
The old-fashioned telephone works quite well with me. 077 4589 3200. You could see a little bit more of my work as a community artist and some examples of my own personal practice at www.timcurtisartist.co.uk. But get in contact and I can share specific. I work in many art forms with a whole range of audiences, with a whole range of needs. So I've probably got some experience of working with almost anything that's asked of me. So I rule nothing out in terms of big impact community art projects.
Well, that's what we want, a big impact, and get the Dales on the map and get it out there even more.
Absolutely.
Well, I think, you know, anybody watching again, you know, get in touch with Tim quite soon. Because before we know it, it's going to be upon us.
Yeah, absolutely. The clock is ticking.
It is very much so, but no, that's fantastic. There's some great ideas I'm sure you've got there. So yeah, anybody wanting to get in touch, then call Tim quick, and we can't wait to see what gets out there. But thank you very much, Tim.
No problem. Thanks for your time.
Okay.